Right, hello and welcome to another edition of ipushpull's podcast. Today I am joined by Richard Quigley, CEO and founder of Ventriks, and has a long background in the energy or commodities data space. So without further ado, I'll let Richard introduce himself.
Yeah, thanks Andrew, and appreciate being part of the podcast. Yes, it is. As you said, I've been in the industry for over 25 years now. I guess a little bit of background. I sort of started in banking and became a petroleum economist. A friend of mine started a data management company in London, and he said, "I think you'd be quite interested in it," because I had an interest anyway in computer science and economics, and I started my foray into data management. And that was an upstream, and they sold the company to Halliburton and then sort of moved on to downstream data management. And I'm sure we'll get into that and what I've been doing over the last 25 years. But that's my quick summary of entry into data management.
Awesome, thanks for that. Firstly, I suppose what's the petroleum economist do? Is that?
Yeah, they do various things. My particular strand was working on fiscal systems. So we used to design fiscal systems for countries like Mexico, Australia, Russia. So you're trying to get inward investment from the Shells, the BPs, etc. And for most of these countries, because they didn't have that much money, there was a particular structure that we used to encourage folk to get some money up front, and then you would share in the proceeds as they dug oil out the ground. And can be quite complex and can be quite simple depending on. I mean, there's obviously politics involved as well as economics. And my role was to engage with countries in that, and we actually worked on behalf of the IMF and World Bank to provide some funding for some of these countries.
Cool. I suppose we should probably talk a little bit about what you're doing now in terms of Ventriks.
Yeah, so I guess just to segue in there. So we managed to successfully sell Datagenic to Enverus. And I sort of left and then started up Ventriks. So Ventriks is very much I guess it's my 25 years of experience manifesting itself into a data platform, which is cloud native. So it's built directly from the cloud. Of course, you have no technical debt, so you don't have to worry about all that stuff. Every company builds technical debt, so we don't have that. It's a blank sheet of paper, and we've learned a lot from the other two companies, the Fame Energy I was part of, or SunGard, and Datagenic, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and you try to map out what the system's going to look like. So we started it in April 2020. Just lockdown had happened in March.
Nothing better to do.
Nothing better to do. It was actually. It turns out to be. Actually, it was an amazing time because my co-founder, Kaushik, we had time over a few months to really sort of blueprint how we wanted to bring the company together. We just him and I really. No one would want to jump ship during COVID, and only when COVID sort of died down did we actually bring people on board. And I think we have 18 people from my last company, Datagenic, that's now part of part of Ventriks.
Cool.
So Ventriks itself is I guess a very it's technology-led data management platform. We embrace as much as possible, as much as we can, without sort of bringing in risks and new technology. Because new technology always brings in risk, as you know, Andrew, as a product manager, so you have to understand the risk. So, but we embrace as much as possible. So we use our primary focus is serverless technology. So the client doesn't really have to think about stuff and scaling and stuff, and so that everything's done for them. We we brought into, we have a number of different things within the platform. So we have our classic sort of, we've devolved into three main areas. Data integration, which is your classic sort of ETL, ELT, bringing data in, ingesting data, and what that means. The data management side, how you manage that data, the master, meta, reference, data management, and all of that encompasses that. And then a data analysis side. So three sort of main areas. We have a fourth one, a data marketplace that we introduced as well. So Gartner have got this amazing statistic that I can't remember what it was, 70% or 80% of data is going to be quite transactional, as opposed to having a sales guy having this bespoke conversation when you just want to buy, I just want to buy the price of Brent from you, it's a very transactional. So there's been quite a foray into marketplaces for various domains, and I'm in the sort of energy and commodities domain.
Yeah.
And we've built up a number of different data providers that are on the marketplace, both commercially, premium private providers, like Argus and Opus and ICIS, etc., and exchanges like EX and ICE, etc., and free data like sort of ENSO-E, ENSO-G, NOAA, Elexon data, etc. So, but extremely important data. So within the platform itself, you can do a number of things. So you can do forward curve construction.
Yeah.
But we took a step back, and my last company, Datagenic, we had a rules framework. It was a third-party rules framework, but it had its own language. It was called rules, and it was quite an unusual construct. And actually, even a normal programmer was kind of taken aback by the construct, and it took them a while to get into it. And it was quite difficult, and we also operated with. You had to operate with. It was kind of dual construct. You had Java, and you had this construct of rules, and it made it in some respects it was a barrier to sale, because a lot of folk didn't have Java. People didn't really want to learn another language rules. So one of the lessons learned was actually to make it super simple for clients to use their own language of choice and to never have that sales barrier. So we now operate in 11 languages, 11 programming languages. So whatever AWS supports, we support, and currently support 11 languages. And so you can write a rule in any language, and that rule is then reusable in the construct of forward curves, for example. So if I have 1 month in a quarter, what do I do to derive month 2, month 3, for example? And they're quite simple calculations, but that's a reusable rule, and it makes the platform very, very powerful because of that. You've got this rules framework, and we use it in a number of different areas. So we use it in quality as well.
Yeah.
You can do analysis. So we have a like a formula editor where you can do obviously formulaic expressions. We've got like 200 functions, mathematical functions and stuff. But you can also bring in rules as well. And it makes it just unbelievably powerful. But underpinning all that, of course, is the auditability, traceability. Yeah. Everything's versioned. And that really is a big thing for clients to know that. And of course, we're ISO 27001, SOC 2 compliant, which really does help.
Especially when you're handling people's data.
Especially when you're handling people's data from that security point of view, And so taking it a step forward, what we do now. So we're kind of embracing, or trying to embrace, I guess, AI.
Yeah.
And AI is, it's a huge area. It's been. I learned at university back in the day. But it's now to the stage where a normal person now understands AI because they have the concept of Chat GPT 4, or and they can use it, and they go, wow, this is amazing. This conversational sort of AI is amazing, and we're starting to over the next quarter, we'll be sort of introducing our own sort of LLM, so large language models. So all the data will be sucked into an LLM, and you can start to query the data. You can start to ask it things like potentially from forecasts. One of the other things we're going to be doing from an ELT. So ELT, just for the audience, is extract, load and transform, or extract, transform and load, whatever way you want to see it. But the most complex part of that is the T part, is the transform. So when you get data, it can be come in all shapes and forms. But let's say a classic CSV, which is a semi-structured format, and everyone has their own version of a CSV. So when people say CSV, they think it's a homogeneous item. It's not. It's heterogeneous, really. And so we have to do something with it, and you have to do something with it that is. It makes it that it's usable for the consumer, as in the client, or a system that's consumable not just for that particular provider. Let's call it Platts, but Argus has got another CSV, and ICIS another CSV, and you want to make it so it's apples for apples comparison. So you want to do what's called a normalization of that data. And so we normalize at the moment semi-automated fashion, and we're trying to get it to use AI to embrace that, to start to normalize that structure, and that will help us scale it even faster. It's kind of there. I mean, like anything in life, it's not 100%, and you do need that bit of intervention, but we're sort of doing a bit of R&D on that sort of right now. And another use of AI that we're using, as I said, we have this rules-based framework for quality, is anomaly detection in data. We already have a bunch of rules that we use for anomaly detection, but AI actually could embrace it even better and help us scale. So we're starting to use it, but what excites me more than anything is artificial general intelligence, and probably most folk haven't heard of it. I'm sure you have, Andrew, but it takes AI to the next revolution, and Elon Musk is obviously a huge advocate of AI. He's got his own AI company. I think it's AIX it's called, isn't it? And of course there's OpenAI and all the rest of it. But it potentially has its problems, because what does AGI do? So AGI's first building block, according to OpenAI, they published a white paper in April, was to do a conversational AI. And they've accomplished that. It's ChatGPT-4 and then other versions of that out there. Google has their own version, Meta, etc. But it's amazing, and you can do a drawing for you. It can do a video, a PowerPoint, and it can answer questions. But it's quite black boxy, but the next stage of AI is what we call reasoning, and reasoning is the hardest thing to do. And basically, you're wanting to take the concept of a human brain and think like a human brain, and at a PhD level, and reason in a problem set without any access to any data. So it has to do it. It has to do itself, and that reasoning is where we are just now in the journey for AGI, and that's a step 2 in reasoning. The step 3 is what we call actors, and actors already exist, but actors will be they already exist to do certain things. When we have robotic process automation, which has their own sort of actors, but the actors in AI are autonomous actors. So now I can go away on holiday, Andrew, and it does all my sales for me, in a sort of cheeky example there. So the actor can work autonomously in whatever field that you're doing. And the next stage is the innovation. So you're looking at AI to actually self-innovate, so come up with its own ideas. it looks at problem sets and how can I solve the problem of, I don't know, a new drug for cancer or whatever, to solve cancer or whatever, and that is that's super exciting. But the one that keeps me awake at night is the fifth one, and it does keep me awake because it has its own challenges. Is organizational AI, and what that does, Andrew, is it takes all of those 4 steps, and it now can run autonomously an organization with no human contact whatsoever. It can set up a company. It can start. It can have conversations. It can transact. It can do anything you want without human intervention, and of course, it needs guardrails, and the EU and the US and all that's working on potential frameworks for guardrails and stuff. What keeps me up at night is not, and I have got no doubt there'll be regulatory guardrails. What keeps me up at night more is the bad actors that are out there. Yeah. That will use that and cause chaos in the world, and we're not far away from it, Andrew. I'm not joking you. We're not far away from it. From that. What would seem like science fiction to now, we're probably a handful of years away for that as a reality. Yeah. And then if you throw into the mix quantum computing, and we're really in I don't know what sort of era we're in now. So it's exciting, really exciting, but it needs its guardrails. Yeah, fair enough. I think that's like the main takeaway, right? Is around. There's a lot it can do, but I think the limitations or the potential for going wrong is also very high as well. And I think, it's interesting. I think I was talking to a group of ipushpull's customers last week, and I think there was a lot of sentiment there around the concept of, it has all of these potential, say, like these things it could do, but I think at the moment a lot of people see it as very much as it's a tool, in the same way that we've used computers to generate documents rather than handwriting, or calculators to do mental arithmetic rather than trying to do it in our heads or on a piece of paper, etc. And I think at the moment, a lot of the business applications actually stem from using it as that next extension of a tool, like next extension of growing that productivity. And I think I see it at the moment as that kind of the next step for it is to grow. The UK's had a lagging productivity problem since the financial crash in 2008, and you see these tools as a natural way of increasing productivity of each worker quite substantially, with the ability to use these tools rather than I think the doomsday scenario of it going off and replacing humans altogether. I think there's a lot to be said for it to the incremental productivity increases that we can see over the next decade. I think are huge, and I think it's very much a time of embrace it or find a way around it. But there's very few ways around it compared to the embracing it side. Yeah, I think you're right, and I think a lot of companies, most of the big sort of FTSE 100 or whatever, S&P 500, they've kind of embraced. They've got their own LLMs, they've got their own internal data, and they're using it to interrogate and to question and stuff. And I think that's a really good way. But it's the next evolution that I just described there. That's going to be really interesting for companies and how they go about embracing that. And I'm excited by it. I'm very excited by it. I've been in technology for most of my life, but hopefully there are, as I say, some guardrails. And what the thing about quantum computing that and I've been talking about for years is, a concept to crack all our encryption, which would take a millennia to do using normal compute power, but quantum, they can crack it in seconds or minutes, and it has its own dystopian so sort of views on where we are with financial system. If that happens, we no longer have a banking system, a real estate system, etc. So, but I think there's an amazing amount of people out there that are involved with this right now to try and to keep the world going. We're still spinning every day, and to, as you say, to hopefully embrace it, and to, as humans, that we can work with it side by side, and try and evolve society, try and make it a better place to live in. We've got 8 billion human beings now, so work out how we can look at create more food stuff for us at the right place at the right time. There's ways to things like this, use AI to do stuff like that.
And I think it's interesting you talk about the banking system encryption and all that problem, and it almost is an advert for the blockchain at that point.
It is an advert for the blockchain. It is, yeah. I mean,
a very good one, in fact.
Yeah, it is, and blockchain's amazing, and again, it's kind of to some degree a bit like smart metering. There was every single conference I went to mentioned blockchain. It's a bit like what's happening now. I was at a conference 2 weeks ago, and the whole conference was kind of underpinned by AI.
Yeah.
Most of the conversation with AI related. Blockchain was that, and then it sort of died down a bit. There's a reticence for change, as you can imagine, and blockchain you need to change to embrace it, and there's a ton of value add to be had, but it's a huge oil tanker.
Yeah,
that's that you have to turn around, and it's going to take a while. But you're right about blockchain.
I think on that note, I think we've covered everything. It's been a nice long conversation. So thank you very much for joining me. It's really interesting to hear some of your thoughts and some of your history as well. So
yeah, thanks Andrew. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Cheers. Thank you.
Thank you.